A lot of news on this Thursday. There was a special press briefing at Jamaica House where the Prime Minister and members of his cabinet were present along with the leaders of the security forces, and they spoke about that 233 gun find and the implications of the interception, and the Prime Minister had a very strong message for wrongdoers. Also on this day, the opposition called a press conference to say that they are most displeased at the appointment of Dennis Chung as the next head of the Financial Investigations Division. Meanwhile, the government has pushed back at the opposition's ultimatum that if Chung's appointment is not rescinded within 72 hours, then there will be protest action right across the island. It's a whole lot to cram into one show for you on this Thursday, but we're going to try our best. Welcome to Lead Story on this Thursday. My name is George Davis. So good to be in your company on this Thursday evening. Well, news broke on Wednesday. Not that the 233 guns had been found, but the fact of Dennis Chung's appointment as the next Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division, FID. Now, why is the FID even more important than it is on a day-to-day basis? Recall that report that the Integrity Commission prepared, which it sent to Parliament and which was tabled in Parliament, concerning the Prime Minister's outstanding statutory declarations, a recommendation from the Integrity Commission to two entities, Tax Administration Jamaica and the Financial Investigations Division, to analyze and to probe certain aspects of the report as it pertains to the Prime Minister's financial dealings. Now, those two actions remain outstanding. They've not been completed. No indication from TAJ that they've completed that task, neither from the FID. So now Dennis Chung takes the job as Chief Technical Director after a process that was managed by the Office of the Services Commission. So get it clear, and it is a fact, it's not my opinion. The appointment was not done by the cabinet or the Prime Minister saying, Dennis Chung, go there, but it was a process through which he applied for the position, he was shortlisted, and the whole process managed by the Office of the Services Commission, and then he was selected as the best candidate, the appointment announced by the Finance Ministry. The opposition is saying, no, not so fast. Given Chung's previous comments about the Integrity Commission matter involving the Prime Minister and the fact of his appointment, we can't be confident that his work will not be colored by a particular favoritism for the Prime Minister. And they say that that is problematic. You don't believe me? Here's what the opposition leader Mark Golding had to say at a press conference called today by the PNP to deal exclusively with that issue.
The matter of the Integrity Commission report into the statutory declarations filed by the Prime Minister and their investigation of his affairs in relation to, in particular, the offense of illicit enrichment has been of grave national concern to Jamaicans at home and abroad. The Integrity Commission, after their extensive investigation, due to a lack of information forthcoming from the Prime Minister on critical elements of facts that were relevant to the matters that they were investigating, felt it necessary to refer the matter to the Financial Investigations Division and Tax Administration Jamaica for further investigation on different aspects of what had come out in their investigations. It is therefore of critical importance that the Financial Investigations Division, which has been without a Chief Technical Director for some time since the resignation and departure of Selvin Hay, that it be led by somebody who is competent in the kind of issues that the FID is set up to deal with as an investigative agency, and also be not tainted in any manner with any kind of political cloud over it. Whoever the technical director of the FID is must be somebody who's not perceived as having any particular political affiliation or bias. And we feel strongly that the appointment of Dennis Chung is itself an act which will further the corruption in the country, because he is somebody who has already publicly stated positions in relation to the matters that the FID ought to be investigating, which are strongly in favor of the Prime Minister and which seek to undermine or belittle the impact and importance of the findings that the Integrity Commission has made on the matters that they investigated as set out in the report that they sent to Parliament. He has commented on the 28 bank accounts operated by the Prime Minister and his companies, on the volume of funds that have flowed through those accounts over the period of their investigation in excess of $470 million, on the issue to do with the Positive Jamaica, a non-profit foundation that receives monies for worthy causes donated from local and overseas contributors. Those funds being used to purchase financial investments in the name of and for the benefit of Mr. Holness's personal companies. On each of these matters, he publicly sought to take a position that's led to the impression that there was nothing amiss, there's no case to answer, everything is above board. Even the nil returns filed by companies that had bank accounts with hundreds of millions of dollars passing through them, he said there was nothing peculiar about that. Nil tax returns. He clearly is a biased person on this matter. He clearly would have a conflict leading the FID to investigate this matter. And that is why we're saying he should resign that position if he's accepted it, or the appointment should be rescinded and revoked forthwith. It is too vital to Jamaica's democracy and the rule of law in our country that what will be the most important and significant investigation by the FID in its history should not be led by somebody who has taken a position on key issues that are the substance of that investigation, positions which are in favor of the Prime Minister, as opposed to positions which the FID ought to be investigating in a non-biased, non-partisan way, based on what the findings of the Integrity Commission were already on those matters.
Mark Jefferson Golding, the opposition leader there, in his words. After the break, the government and the Jamaica Labour Party, they respond.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. We never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
everybody, I'm Yendi, and this is Odyssey with Yendi. In this space, we connect with some of your favorite people as they share their journeys. Here we have some unfiltered conversations as we deep dive into their inspirations, motivations, and experiences to inspire our own life journey.
Back with us here on Lead Story. So you've heard from the opposition leader, his perspective on the appointment of Dennis Chung. He says that the PNP can't be confident that Dennis Chung's actions will not be motivated by bias. They say he has shown bias given that in his role as a social commentator, a public commentator, he has made comments on aspects of the Prime Minister's Integrity Commission issue that they deem to be favorable of the Prime Minister. Therefore, they can't be confident that he will not be biased and that they shouldn't have that worry where the appointee as head of the FID is concerned. Well, what has the governing Jamaica Labour Party to say about the PNP's reaction to Dennis Chung's appointment? Here's the chairman of the JLP's Communications Task Force, Senator Abka Fitzhenley.
We've heard the comments by the opposition PNP concerning the appointment of Dennis Chung to the FID. We hold no brief for Dennis Chung, but the comments, the posture of the opposition, quite unfortunate and unbecoming. Their argument appears to be because Dennis Chung was among one of many Jamaicans who commented on matters in the public domain concerning this matter, which touched and concerned the FID, that despite being qualified, he should not be allowed to serve in this post. Unfortunate, unbecoming, and an argument that cannot stand up to scrutiny. This suggestion about not being qualified as well is disingenuous because it's a matter of public record that the post of FID, Chief Technical Director, is not one that is investigative in nature but more managerial. The opposition's posture is quite hypocritical as well because these are the same people who, not too long ago, defended the appointment of Dr. Dayton Campbell's friend of 20 years, an individual who Campbell attended upon his wedding in the groom's party, appointed as acting director of corruption prosecution. The PNP defended that appointment. Convenient posturing, and there's a word for it. Hypocritical and unprincipled. I've heard as well Peter Bunting on a political platform appearing to suggest that the Prime Minister made an appointment to the FID and raising the spectre of corruption. I say to Bunting that gone are the days when members of the PNP are allowed to disparage without a credible basis the good name of members of the Jamaica Labour Party. Damian Crawford and Alfred Dawes learned the hard way this week. Bunting should be careful.
Yeah, and one other member of the, a member of the JLP's Communications Task Force, which Senator Fitzhenley chairs, Senator Marlon Morgan, says, quote, "It would be disappointing if the PNP is seeking to bring the selection process into disrepute, given that a possible candidate of their choice for the role of Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division was not found to have merited selection for the post." He says while the JLP holds no brief for Dennis Chung, the PNP should respect his record, which includes service at the Bank of Jamaica, the National Solid Waste Management Authority, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, and several financial institutions, including JMMB and Daring, Bunting and Golding. All right, so that's to bring you up to speed on that hot matter. But even bigger than that, much bigger than that, this issue of the historic gun find. Never in the history of this country, never before in the history of this country, have the police found more illegal weapons in any one go. 233, and in the words of the National Security Minister, Dr. Horace Chang, the number of rounds of ammunition found was 40,000 and counting. He confirmed reports which emerged yesterday elsewhere in the media that the police believe that they will need until the weekend to finish counting the number of rounds of ammunition in that cache. So, the Prime Minister today, the chairman of the National Security Council, he called a press briefing. This is what he had to say about that issue.
I want to join the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Minister of National Security and all well-thinking Jamaicans in welcoming the announcement of the United States government, the decision to upgrade its travel advisory for Jamaica from a level 3 to a level 2. This is significant for Jamaica, and it is indeed an encouraging development, one that reflects the hard work and commitment and discipline that this administration has brought to bear in matters of national security and foreign affairs. This upgrade is not incidental. There are those who will seek to dismiss it or downplay it. But for those persons particularly affected in the tourism sector, for persons who are understanding of the impact of a negative travel advisory, the importance of this moment is well understood. It is the direct result of years of targeted policy implementation, investments in security infrastructure, and sustained diplomatic engagement. It signals to the international community that Jamaica is safer and a more secure destination, not only for visitors, but for residents, for citizens. Just a week ago, we had the privilege of hosting U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and during his visit, our efforts in security reform, economic resilience, and law enforcement modernization was made clear. We took the opportunity to showcase how our government has been resolute in its mission to make Jamaica a safer, stronger, and more prosperous country. The Minister of National Security, the Deputy Prime Minister, would have shared an interesting statistic, but I want to repeat it so that the nation can be seized of this moment. In 2016, our national murder rate, which is the number of murders per 100,000, stood at somewhere in the region of about 49.6 murders per 100,000 Jamaicans. A figure that was deeply troubling and which placed us in the category of one of the highest murder rates globally. Today, I can report that based on the year-to-date data, Jamaica is seeing a 43% reduction in murders. In other words, we are 43% less murders today than we were last year. And if you annualize this, then we would have a murder rate of 24.3 per 100,000. So we have literally cut the murder rate in half. Murder is used as for Jamaicans at least, the metric for judging safety and security within the country. And if that is the metric, then clearly this administration has done a fantastic job in cutting the murder rate significantly. And when you look at the statistics, the last time that we were this low would be in 1991, almost 35 years ago. So it is an amazing achievement by all or any measure at all that we have managed to achieve this. This is not by chance. It is the result of strategic and unprecedented investment in national security. Since 2016, this administration has invested $87 billion in security, $87 billion, more than 3 times what was invested by previous administration before 2016. So we are investing roughly about $9 billion per year in security. This shows our intent. It's not just talking about security, it's not just praying about security, it is actually doing the work. It is actually making the effort and making the allocations for security, and that is yielding great results. The investment in security, as pointed out by the Minister of National Security, was not only in the JDF, where significant resources were placed in securing our borders, in acquiring offshore patrol vessels, maritime aircraft, radars, and other things which we don't give too much information on. It was not only the investment in the JCF, in the refleeting of the JCF, in the introduction of better communications, better forensic, greater investigation, the changing of the doctrine and leadership, the human resource development, increasing the complement of the JDF, which is now close to more than 8,000, moving it from about 5,000, and moving the JCF to its establishment from about 9,000 to 14,000 persons now in the JCF. Significant improvement in human resources as well. But I'd also want to point out that we have made significant investments in the Jamaica Customs Agency, both in terms of the improvement in their own systems and processes and human resource development, but also in the technology that they use in striking greater partnerships with our international partners and significant investment in greater scanning technology. And what you're seeing now with this recent find of using the remind me, Commissioner, of the last figures you gave, 179?
So it's 233?
233 weapons discovered.
74 rifles
Mm-hmm.
and 159 handguns.
There you have it, 233 weapons of mass destruction for Jamaica. We were able to detect them using our scanning technology, and we were able to recover them. The investigations are ongoing, and I am certain that our security forces will track down, along with our international partners, those who were responsible for this. I want to pause here to make an appeal to our Jamaicans overseas and those who are here collaborating in the importation of illegal weapons. We will find them, and we will find you. And we are serious about this. The government has made an investment in not just equipment and technology and personnel and leadership, but we have made an investment in commitment. And I believe that this point must be driven home to all those who are of a criminal intent. We will meet your persistence with our commitment. We will strengthen our intention with even greater investment. We will overcome organized criminal enterprises in Jamaica. And what you're seeing happening is the government developing the capacity which we didn't have before. We now have the capacity to overcome organized violence and organized criminal enterprise in Jamaica. So effectively, what we have done is to change the risk-reward function, if you want to call it that, in crime in Jamaica. So for those people who are contemplating being involved in criminal activity, there is no reward in it anymore.
You know, these comments from the Prime Minister put partisan politics into perspective, yeah? You know, I've said here, I'm a child of the 80s. I've lived under a PNP administration where I came into my own as a young adult, then as an adult. And under a PNP administration, I've done well for myself. Under a JLP administration, I've done well for myself. I'm happy living here regardless of who's in power. It doesn't matter to me as long as they are running the country properly. So for me, it's not a partisan consideration. And as I'm saying, this report, these comments about a historic gun find, 233 guns, 40,000 plus rounds of ammunition, puts into perspective that it's all about Project Jamaica. Yeah, forget PNP, forget JLP. I want to use another F, but this is TV and it's a family program. The point is that we should be preserving where we live, regardless of our political affiliation and bend. Yeah? The fact is that Jamaica is more important than partisan political considerations. And when we consider that there are people of the moneyed class who are organizing crime so that the country remains under the thumb of mayhem and is a step close to anarchy at every single day, and that there are men, not even women, that there are men walking around with instruments of death ready to point and click at a moment's notice. It is outstanding that the police have intercepted such a shipment, because if it is that these 233 guns were